Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some cooking demonstrations to go along with the Intro to Basic Cooking Methods that came out very recently. Today I'm going to be demonstrating two cooking methods and one terminology from past videos. Today I'll be broiling pork chops and accompanying it with steamed broccoli with a balsamic glaze. So let's get started. So I know another one of my recent videos I did broiling, but I broiled asparagus and that's a vegetable, so I thought it would be prudent today to give you a demonstration on broiling a meat. So I'm just going to briefly cover the procedures for each method that we're using today, and then we'll get to cooking. So the first method that I'm going to discuss is broiling. And broiling is a dry heat method that utilizes heat from a source over top of the food item. For more information on broiling, please see the Intro to Basic Cooking Methods #2 video, which is all about dry cooking methods. So to start with, for broiling, once you've prepared the inside of the oven, if you intend on placing your item directly onto the grates, feel free to wipe it lightly with an oiled towel to remove remaining bits, as well as assist in seasoning the grate, which helps prevent future sticking. Step 2 is to preheat the broiler to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 3 is to prepare and trim your ingredients by trimming and cutting as needed. This is also the point at which marinades, rubs, and seasonings are applied. Food can be lightly brushed with oil if you prefer. So for pork chops, specifically the ones I'm using today, there wasn't a lot of trimming required. I did coat it with a mix of seasonings, which included ginger powder, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and fresh cracked pepper. I left those pork chops on the counter to just come to a little bit of a room temperature. Once the broiler is to the desired temperature, which is at least 500 degrees, place the food presentation side down onto the hot grates or onto your broiling rack and slide the rack back under the broiler. Important to note when you're cooking anything, whether it be by broiling or pan-searing, you always want to place the food on the cooking surface presentation downside first. Step 5 is to cook the food long enough for the grate lines to develop on the food. Now, I don't think I'm going to have grate lines with my pork chops today because I don't have a broiler pan with grates. So I am using a sheet pan with a cooling rack set inside over the top of tin foil or aluminum foil. One side of your protein gets to about 50% cooked, or has cooked long enough for grate lines to develop on the food. Pull the grate out and flip the food item, turning at about a 90 degrees angle. Be careful not to pierce the food item. In order to achieve the look you want, you may have to adjust the rack to either put more space between the broiler and the food or less space between the broiler and the food. The goal of adjusting the rack is to properly cook the food to the desired doneness while developing proper surface color. There are 3 ways to determine doneness of your broiled item. One is temperature, one is touch, and the third is visual cues, such as the juices running clear, like with a chicken breast. So that was broiling. The next one we're going to talk about really quickly is steaming. Steaming is a moist heat cooking method. Steaming your food can enhance the natural flavor of that food as well as retain nutrients that food contains. For more information on steaming and moist cooking methods, please check out video #3 of the Intro to Basics of Cooking Methods videos. The link should be in the description of this video. The first step of steaming is similar to most first steps for cooking methods, and that is to clean and trim your food item. The second step is to prepare the steaming liquid and bring it to a boil. The third step is to place the food on the basket or the rack in a single layer. Do not crowd. In a professional setting, this procedure can be done in a perforated hotel pan over a non-perforated pan. In your own kitchen, there are a variety of different styles of steam baskets and racks for you to choose from. Place the rack or basket over the boiling liquid. Alternatively, if you don't have a steam basket, you can place the food in a very shallow amount of boiling water. The final step is to cover and cook until the food has become to the desired doneness, which can be determined by timing, color, and tenderness. So very briefly, once we get done steaming the broccoli, we're going to put a little balsamic glaze on it. Glaze is a term that means to apply a sauce, aspic, sugar, or icing to give a food shine, as well as browning or melting under a broiler, salamander, or in an oven. Now, balsamic glaze can be made on your own, but I have this product that I'm going to be using today. In the future, there will be videos teaching you how to make your own glaze. But for today, because we're not focusing on sauces, we're going to go the easy way. Alright, let's get to putting some food in the oven and some food in a steamer basket. As mentioned before, the first step is to trim your ingredients. I purchased a bag of broccoli florets. Just for convenience sake, in the future I will be doing demonstrations on how to cut up whole products such as cauliflower and broccoli and more, but for today we're just keeping it very simple. Cut the pieces into the size that you would like. Uniform is best. I can already tell where I'm going to have some problems. These ones will be cooking much quicker. So what I'm going to do is divide these up into size appropriate piles. So the broccoli is ready. As mentioned, I previously seasoned my pork chops, and I'm just going to brush them with just a little bit of oil. I am using sunflower oil, but you could choose whatever oil that you prefer. If you haven't watched my video on choosing fats and oils for cooking, take a look in the description of this video for the link, or check out other videos on my channel. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. That we've got the pork chops done, we can place them on the broiling pan. As I said, I don't have a broiling pan, so this is my solution to that. The purpose of the rack is so that the meat doesn't sit in the fat drippings that result from the cooking. Let's get this stuff in the oven and on the stove. So the interior temperature of a pork chop to be considered food safe is 145 degrees. So if you're going to determine the doneness of your pork chop that way, make sure that you have a thermometer. Now for the timing of the pork chops, it depends on the thickness of the chop that you're using. If it's a very thin pork chop, you'll want to cook it for 4 to 5 minutes on each side. If it's a 3/4 inch pork chop, you'll want to cook it for about 7 to 8 minutes on each side. And if your pork chop is about 1 inch thick, you'll want to cook it for 9 to 10 minutes on each side. So next we're going to steam that broccoli. The first step we already covered with trimming, and now we just need to bring water to a full boil before we place the basket in the pot. When you put water in the pot, you want to make sure it's not any higher than the bottom of the basket's going to be. Otherwise it boils up and bubbles into the food item, and that's more of a boil than a steam. I prepared this water by simply throwing in a few drops of liquid smoke just to see what would happen. I've never actually done that before. It'll be interesting to see if the broccoli takes on a bit of a smoky flavor. Now that the water is boiling, we'll just place the tray in there. Now, if you think the water is boiling too hard, you can always turn the temperature down just a little. I'm actually using a burner that is considered an ultra heat burner, so the temperature gets way more hot than a normal burner. So you just want to cover your steamed item, and to determine doneness is really up to you here. It really depends on how tender you like your vegetables. If you like them a little al dente or like a little bite to them, steam them less. If you want them to be much softer, steam them more. One good way to test is to take a knife and find a thick part of the item and just pierce it to see if it is at a texture that you like. So one of my pork chops started on fire, which means that is definitely done. Probably I should have moved the grate a little lower, and that sound is just my oven telling me that the door is open. We're gonna turn these over. We're gonna cook these a little less time I think for 7 minutes. Keep an eye on it so that I don't end up with a large oven fire. I can tell that my pork chops are probably overcooked a little. They were on fire. But I mean, they're still going to be edible. But we'll see what happens. They might turn out really great. That char on the outside might make the flavor super good, as char usually does. But we'll see what happens. Be right back. All right, this should be done now. Just gonna turn this over. I'm gonna pierce it, and if it just slides off really nice like that and there's no hang time, that's an indication that it is as done as it should be. Do not cook them any longer past that, or you'll end up with mushy vegetables and the nutrition will start to degrade. All right, we just gotta wait for those pork chops, and then I'll plate this and we can see how it turned out. So I had some issues. You saw there was a bit of an oven fire, and it is possible that I had the rack too high and too close to the broiler. So for the second half of the cooking, I lowered the rack and cooked it that way. I'm probably gonna have to do a repeat of this video in the future because it was a bit of a fail. If you don't know, my oven is pretty brand new. I just got it in December. I have not gotten the hang of it, and if you've ever had new appliances, you know that they all are not the same, and it takes a while to learn the personality of the appliance. Having said that, I think everything turned out fine, so we're gonna give that a taste test and a look. Anyway, let's give this a taste. But first, let's give it a look. Yeah, let's take the cut inside here. And that is a done pork chop. Let's take a bite. Well, that flame certainly did not negatively impact this pork chop, so that's good news. And then we have the steamed broccoli. With the glaze. I also sprinkled a little Melvin finishing salt on the broccoli. And that turned out to be an excellent decision. There you have it. Broiled pork chops, steamed broccoli with balsamic glaze. That's it for my video today. I hope you found the information useful. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Any interaction helps this channel grow. Thank you for stopping by and watching my video today. And as always, have a wonderful day.